The cathedral was so quiet that even a falling flower petal could be heard. Weston Cole stood at the altar in a black tuxedo that cost more than most people's houses, watching his bride glide down the aisle in white silk and diamonds. Everyone in that room believed this was a fairy tale ending. No one knew it was about to become something else entirely. The priest had barely opened his mouth when the cathedral doors slammed open. A small girl, no older than 6, walked down the aisle in a torn yellow dress and mismatched shoes, carrying a basket of wilted flowers. The guests began to whisper. Weston frowned, more confused than afraid, assuming some usher had let a local child wander in by mistake. She stopped 3 feet from him, tilted her head, and said one word that shattered the silence of that cathedral forever. "Daddy." A ripple of nervous laughter broke out. Diane's smile went brittle. "Sweetheart, I think you have the wrong wedding," Weston said gently, crouching down, already reaching for a guard to walk her out. Then he looked at her eyes, really looked. And the words caught in his throat, because those were his mother's eyes, his own eyes, staring back at him from a stranger's face. "What's your name?" he asked, voice unsteady now. "Lily," she said. "Mama's outside. She said if you didn't believe me, you'd come find her yourself." That was the difference. No envelope, no letter, no proof handed to him. Just a challenge. Weston stood, straightened his jacket, and walked out of his own wedding without a word of explanation to 300 guests, because for the first time in years, something mattered more than his family's approval. He found Nadia across the street, half hidden behind a flower cart, close enough to watch, but too afraid to walk in. 5 years had changed her face, but not the way she looked at him, like she still expected him to turn away. "You have a daughter," Weston said. Not a question. Nadia's jaw tightened. "I have a daughter. Whether she's yours is apparently still up for debate in your family." That single line told him everything he needed about how his last 5 years of truth had been built. He didn't get an easy explanation from her either. Nadia refused to talk in the street, refused to talk with his driver waiting, refused until he agreed to come alone, unguarded, to the address she gave him. That was the second thing that separated Weston from the man he used to be. He went. In a cramped apartment above a laundromat, Nadia finally told him what she'd swallowed for 5 years. She hadn't vanished quietly. She'd tried reaching him twice in the first year, once through a letter to his office that was never delivered past his mother's assistant, and once by showing up at a hotel where Weston was giving a press conference, only to be removed by his own security before she got within 50 feet of the stage. After that, she stopped trying, not because she gave up on him, but because she couldn't risk Lily growing up as a bargaining chip in a family war. "I didn't run from you," she said. "I ran from what your family does to people like me." Weston went straight to his mother's estate that night, still in half his wedding tuxedo. He didn't ask her calmly. He laid it out and watched her face for the crack in her composure. "You turned away a woman who came to my office. You had her removed from a hotel. Tell me I'm wrong." His mother didn't deny it. She simply said, "I protected this family," as if that single sentence justified 5 years of a stolen daughter. It was the first time Weston understood his mother wasn't all-powerful. She was controlling, yes, but she was also scared. Scared enough to make reckless moves that were now surfacing one by one. Diane was the harder confrontation. When Weston finally faced her, he expected pure calculation and got something messier. Diane admitted she'd known about Lily for over a year. His mother had told her early in their courtship, framing it as a loose end that will be handled. At first, Diane told herself it wasn't her business. Then she told herself Weston was better off not knowing. By the time she realized how deep the lie went, she was already engaged, already comfortable, already unwilling to blow up the life she'd built for a truth that wasn't hers to tell. "I didn't do this because I'm evil, Weston," she said, I did it because I was scared of losing you. And your mother made that fear very easy to justify. Weston didn't get his answers from a ledger or a stack of documents. He got them by pulling threads himself, visiting the hotel security firm and confirming through an old contact that a woman matching Nadia's description had indeed been escorted out 5 years earlier on his mother's direct order. He tracked down the assistant who intercepted Nadia's letter, now working at a rival firm, and got a shaky but honest confirmation on record. Piece by piece, through conversations and confrontations rather than convenient paperwork, Weston built the truth himself instead of waiting for someone to hand it to him. The board didn't collapse in one clean vote. Weston brought what he'd gathered to an emergency meeting, and it was messy. His mother fought back hard, calling his claims a personal vendetta, and for a moment it looked like the board might side with her out of sheer institutional loyalty. It was Diane of all people who tipped the room, standing up and confirming everything Weston alleged, sacrificing her own reputation because she said she was done being someone else's excuse. The vote to remove his mother from operational control passed by a narrow margin, not a landslide, and Weston knew the fight for the company wasn't fully over, only that he'd won the first real round of it. Through all of it, Lily wasn't a name mentioned in board meetings and left behind. Weston brought her with him more than once, let her sit in his office drawing on hotel notepads while lawyers argued next door, let her fall asleep on his shoulder during the drive back from his mother's estate the night everything cracked open. She asked him blunt 6-year-old questions. "Are you going to leave again?" That hit harder than anything the adults said in their carefully worded confrontations. He told her the truth every time, even when the truth was, "I don't know yet," because he'd decided he would never again let her learn something about her own family from a stranger. The ending didn't arrive with a tidy bow. Weston's mother didn't have a redemption scene. She left the company quietly, unwilling to apologize, still convinced she'd done what she had to. Diane didn't get forgiveness or a villain's punishment. She simply walked away from the wedding, the company, and Weston, choosing to rebuild somewhere no one knew her name. What Weston got instead was smaller and more honest. A coastal town, a flower shop that still smelled like the mango tree out back, and a daughter who stopped asking if he'd leave again because she'd finally watched him stay. He knelt in the grass outside that shop, Nadia's hand in his, Lily between them describing in exhausting detail the flower she thought was the prettiest one in the whole basket. No papers had saved this. No convenient discovery in someone else's handbag. Just a man who finally went looking for the truth himself and found out it had been waiting for him the entire time.